I just read an article that said women get nicer feedback than men in the workplace, and I thought, wow, this is so true. And then I started to think about all of the women that I have coached who are incredibly smart and talented and capable, yet they don't believe it. They don't believe it because they've received so much feedback over their careers. That has been like, oh, you're so nice, you're so pretty, you're so likable, you're so cute. And they've gotten so much of that feedback that they actually believe that is what people see in them rather than their skills and their talents. So when I read this article, I was like, yes, this is true. This is what happens. So in the article, it talked about how women who are in leadership positions or trying to get into leadership positions receive feedback that is more focused on their appearance and their likability, whereas men receive feedback that's focused on their competence. And I thought that's so true because women are penalized for being competent. I had a client once who was interviewing for a chief of staff position, and she was really frustrated because she was getting a lot of pushback from the male leaders that she was interviewing with. And I asked her, what kind of pushback? And she said, they keep telling me I'm nice. And I was like, what does that even mean? What are you hearing specifically? She says, well, I hear things like you need to be more assertive. You need to speak up more. You need to be more of a take charge kind of person. And I could tell she was really frustrated by it. And I could also tell that she was taking it personally. And I told her that wasn't necessarily the case. I said, you know, sometimes when people say those types of things to us, it's not necessarily about us. Sometimes it's about them. It's because they're not used to working with women. They're not used to having women in leadership positions, and they don't know how to manage women. And so they use these types of comments as a way for them to try to manage you. And I think that that's really true. I think that when we receive this type of feedback, it's not always necessarily about us. It's about the person giving us the feedback. It's about what their experience has been. It's about what their expectations are. It's about what their biases are. That being said, we can't control what other people say. The only thing we can control is how we choose to respond to it. And I would encourage you not to take it personally when you receive this type of feedback. Know that it's probably not about you. Know that most likely they're not trying to hurt your feelings. They may probably just not that skilled at giving feedback, or maybe they may not that skilled at working with women. And I think that that's really important to remember. Now, if you do want to speak up and say something, you could say something like, can you give me an example of what you mean by that? Because most likely they're not going to be able to. They're going to say, oh, you know, you just seem nice. And then you can push back and say, well, I'm actually quite assertive. I just don't feel like this is the right environment to be assertive in. Can you help me understand what you're looking for? And then they'll give you some more feedback, and then you'll have a better idea of how to move forward. But I wouldn't take it personally. If you're receiving a lot of this type of feedback, I would encourage you to keep a record of it. Write it down. Write down the exact words that they use and write down the context of what was happening when they gave you that feedback. And then go back later on and look at the pattern of the feedback. Is it really about you? Is there something else going on? And if it is about you, then ask yourself the question, is this something I want to change? And if the answer is no, then let it roll off your back. Let it roll off your back and know that you're amazing just the way you are.